Thank you to my YouTube commenter who let me know that today a white nationalist hate group marched through the streets of Kansas City, Missouri. They were allowed to proceed unimpeded. The police did nothing to stop them, and there were some reports that the cops were actually there observing and making sure that this designated hate group could carry out their march. I'm going to show you a little clip from the march today, and if you don't want to see a bunch of chicken shit Yahtzees with their faces covered, skip forward a few seconds and then come back because I have some analysis. That embarrassing display of fragility goes on for quite a while, but we don't need to watch those boys anymore. That clip was from a TikTok account called Patriot Maxing. Like, how fucking embarrassing can you be? Anyway, that group is called Patriot Front. The Southern Poverty Law Center has designated them as a white nationalist hate group. They broke off from Vanguard America in the aftermath of the Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville, Virginia in 2017. According to the Southern Poverty Law Center, Patriot Front is an image-obsessed organization that rehabilitated the explicitly fascist agenda of Vanguard America with garish patriotism. Patriot Front focuses on theatrical rhetoric and activism that can be easily distributed as propaganda for its chapters across the country. This is your typical hyper-nationalistic white supremacist group. In their manifesto, they rant about their fears of being replaced by immigrants. They want to have a white ethno-state. Their typical activism is stuff like this, a bunch of embarrassing dudes in polo shirts and chinos covering their faces because they don't want you to see who they are. They are so proud they want their white ethno state, but yet they won't show their faces in public because they don't want you to know that they might be a teacher at your local school. They might work for your local police department. They might be your coworker. They might go to church with you. They're so proud to be white, but yet they won't show their faces. They won't publicly align themselves with this group. It's all about anonymity. So they have these marches where they obscure their faces, and then they love to drop flyers anonymously or banners off the sides of overpasses or buildings. So like your typical white nationalist group, they're all about creating this fear and anxiety. They want you to believe that you, if you're white, your children are in danger. It's this constant fear that non-white people are trying to push out white folks, are either going to replace us in population, which, yes, and also the global majority already does exceed white people in population, but they don't want to hear that. So it's this constant fear of white people in America being replaced by other races. It's this desperate fear that they have that they as white people are going to find themselves in the racial minority. And they frame it as like these other races are trying to take over. And what we're doing is we're fighting for our children and our children's children. In their manifesto, they say, America, our nation, stands before an existential threat. The lives of your children and your children's children and your prosperity beyond that dangle above a den of vipers. Really, really weird. They say a corrupt, rootless, global, and tyrannical elite has usurped your democracy and turned it into a weapon, first to enslave and then to replace you. I mean, America is controlled by a corrupt and tyrannical elite. It's a bunch of white dudes hoarding hundreds of billions of dollars that are fucking over every working class person in this country. It's not some secret cabal of non-white people who are trying to replace white people, the people in power. So because they're afraid of being outed in their own communities, one of their requirements is that they can't protest or spread propaganda flyers in the areas where they live. They're required to travel basically like 100 miles away from where they live because they don't want their neighbors to recognize them. But they're so brave and proud to be white and proud of this group that they belong to. It's important to note that they aren't just focused on racial minorities. Since 2022, they've also been targeting LGBTQIA folks as well. The first time I actually heard about this group was back in 2022. They took a bunch of like U-Haul vans full of these guys and drove them to Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and unloaded on the Pride Parade there. But unlike what happened in Kansas City today, in Coeur d'Alene, 31 members of the group were arrested and charged with conspiracy to riot. Nothing happened in Kansas City today. According to KSHB 41 News, no arrests were made after the white nationalist hate group Patriot Front holds its march in Kansas City, Missouri. A spokesperson for the Kansas City Police Department said a patrol sergeant observed about 100 people marching on the sidewalk near the Liberty Memorial. They were later identified as members of Patriot Front, and the police said that they're not from the Kansas City area. The police said they were unaware that this group was coming to protest, so clearly they didn't get a permit. Now, several reports say that the Kansas City police were escorting them and keeping them safe, but the police department themselves said that they were not involved in any kind of escort activity for the group that was marching at all. So they deny that claim. Police made no arrests and issued no citations. Again, big contrast between this and Coeur d'Alene, where 31 Patriot Front members were arrested. Now, to be fair, these guys were not showing up to be counter-protesters at a Pride event. They just decided to roll into Kansas City and intimidate the non-white residents. These public displays of white supremacy, these are absolutely meant to intimidate people. And so you may be angry, like, why didn't the cops shut this down? Why were people not taking to the streets, right? Everybody loves to say, yes, it's okay to punch Nazis. But I actually want to push back on that a tiny bit. The mayor of Kansas City, Quentin Lucas, said, while the First Amendment provides the right to bring any message to Kansas City, we know that our diversity, our welcoming community, and our respect for the rights of all reject whatever hate and cowardice come our way. And I think that this is an important thing to note about what happened today, which is that these fuckers were trying to instigate violence. Groups like these are always trying to intimidate. They're trying to terrorize, absolutely. But part of the reason they all have their squeaky clean image where they all look the same, they look like they're working at Best Buy circa 1999 with their blue polos and their chinos. They're all matchy-matchy in their crisp new outfits. They're trying to look respectable and dignified and say that there's nothing violent, there's nothing coarse, there's nothing unrefined about our movement, that we are respectable people. And they're absolutely trying to incite people who care about racial justice, people who care about LGBTQIA rights, people who care about ethics, people who are good, moral people, they're trying to incite you to violence. They know that what they're doing is despicable in the eyes of most of America. They know that they are a white supremacist hate group. They know that they are literal Yahtzees. And they are itching for you to start shit. One of the first things you learn about when you start protesting is how to de-escalate situations, and you learn that if counter-protesters show up, you do not give them any attention. In fact, if you can, you turn and give them your back. You don't pay attention to them. They're chanting shit at you. You ignore them. You do not play into it at all. You don't give them the time of day, because all they will do is escalate it. They will try and draw you into something where you are going to get in trouble. And I'm so appreciative of all of the folks in Kansas City who saw this happening and chose to do the right thing, chose not to engage, chose not to validate what these guys were doing, chose not to take the bait. This is really important as we're watching hate groups become normalized, as we're watching them be emboldened and feel that the Trump regime and Elon Musk and his Roman salute and all of that stuff empowers white supremacist behavior, makes them feel more confident in getting out in public and doing this. It's so important that none of us take the bait. It's the same way that none of us are going to show up to Donald Trump's birthday on June 14th and we're not going to watch it on TV. We're going to do our own thing. We're going to do our own No King's Day celebration. It's very much like that with these guys. Don't pay them any mind. Don't give them any attention. If you see them in your community, do not engage. You are going to go about your day. You're going to do your own thing. You're going to give them your back. You're not going to give them the attention that they are so desperately craving. They would love to create a situation where they have an excuse to beat on a person of color. They would love to create a situation in which they look respectable and they can repeat their nasty racist rhetoric that non-white people are animalistic brutes and they are refined white men. They would love to see the cops step in, arrest, and brutalize non-white people in the defense of Patriot Front. We cannot give them any of that. So as despicable as it was to see this display today, the correct thing to do is not engage. Do not fan those flames. Do not give that fire any oxygen at all. We are going to stay focused on the good work that we need to do, and we are not going to give those guys the time of day. They are deeply, profoundly insecure men who are desperate for attention. All that blustering and chest thumping and banging on drums and carrying shields and flags, it's because they feel profoundly insecure. They're not confident in who they are. They don't feel good about themselves. They don't feel in control of their lives. They are full of hate. They're desperate for your attention and they're itching for violence, so give them neither. Yes, this was disturbing today, but don't be freaked out about it. These guys have been around for a while, and we don't need to be concerned with them.